All humans are able to sense changes in Earth's magnetic field, according to scientific study. Scientists believe that humans were once able to sense Earth's magnetic field and use it for navigation purposes, just like many other living beings do, but eventually lost this skill. And they suggest it's possible to regain that skill once again, possibly with some kind of training. A group of scientists, including geophysicists and biologists, cognitive neuroscientists, and neuroengineer, found proof that the human brain is capable of detecting Earth's magnetic field despite previous conflicting results, and the results of their research were published in the website Science Alert, and the discovery shows that humans have not entirely lost the mechanism of orienting themselves using magnetic field, which many other animals enjoy. Researchers placed the experiment subjects on simple chairs set up inside a Faraday cage that filters out all outside magnetic fields, and they used the coils installed inside to generate an artificially controlled magnetic field inside the cage. Although the subjects of the experiment failed to feel anything, their brains connected to an electroencephalography EEG clearly responded when researchers shifted the direction of the artificial field. What's even more intriguing, according to the scientists, is that the subjects' brains filtered out irrelevant information about the field. For example, when the field was configured in a way unnatural for Earth's magnetosphere, their brains did not respond at all. The same happened when the field was configured to represent the southern hemisphere's magnetic field, while all the subjects lived in the northern one. The brain also ignored magnetic fields that are at least 25% stronger than the one generated by the Earth, meaning various electronic devices generating such fields cannot affect the brain's functions. The group of scientists suggests that the mechanism behind the ability to sense magnetic fields lies in cells' newly discovered ability to form nanocrystals of the ferromagnetic mineral magnetite. Such crystals, found in many organisms as well as in human brains, essentially work as micromagnets, and although the nature of their functions in cells has been poorly studied so far, theoretically it can be used to keep track of the Earth's magnetosphere, the researchers pointed out. The discovery comes amid news that the focal point of the Earth's magnetic sphere, the magnetic pole, is constantly shifting from the Canadian Arctic towards Russia's Siberia at a rate of about 35 miles a year, 55 kilometers per year. And despite the relatively slow pace, well, it's not slow, obviously, I don't think it's slow, it's very fast, the scientists have to update the magnetosphere's maps each year because all people and devices that still use compasses heavily depend on them, such as compass arrow always pointing in all directions to the North Pole. Last time they were forced to issue a new version of the map earlier than scheduled in mid-February instead of late 2019. So, scientists developing the robust experiment showing human brainwaves respond to changes in Earth magnetic fields. Many humans able to unconsciously detect changes in Earth strength magnetic fields, according to scientists at Caltech and the University of Tokyo, led by geophysicist Joseph Karasvik and neuroscientist Shin Shimojo at Caltech, as well as neuroengineer Ayu Matani, University of Tokyo. And they say that human brainwaves respond to controlled changes in Earth strength magnetic fields. They say this is the first concrete evidence of new human sense, magnetoreception, and their findings were published in the journal eNeuro on March 18. Many animals have magnetoreception, so why not us? Asked Connie Wang, Caltech graduate student and lead author of the eNeuro study. For example, honeybees, salmons, turtles, birds, whales, and bats use the geomagnetic field to help them navigate, and dogs can be trained to locate buried magnets. It has long been theorized that humans may share a similar ability, but despite the flurry of research attempting to test for it in the 1980s, it's never been conclusively demonstrated. Aristotle described the 5 basic senses as including vision, hearing, taste, smell, and touch, says Karasvik, corresponding author of the eNeuro study. However, he did not consider gravity, temperature, pain, balance, and several other internal stimuli that we know are part of the human nervous system. Our animal ancestry argues that geomagnetic field sensors should also be there, representing not the sixth sense, but perhaps the 10th or 11th human sense to be discovered. So trying to determine whether humans do sense magnetic fields, these scientists built an isolated radio frequency shielded chamber, the Faraday cage as we said before, and during that time they shifted the magnetic field silently around the chamber and measured participants' brain waves via electrodes positioned at 64 locations on their heads. The test was performed with 34 human participants from a wide range of ages and a variety of ethnicities, and during a given session, the participants consciously experienced nothing more interesting than sitting alone in the dark. But among many participants, changes in their brain waves correlated with changes in the magnetic field around them. The researchers tracked the alpha rhythm in the brain, which occurs at between 8 and 13 hertz, and is a measure of whether the brain is being engaged or is a resting or autopilot mode. And when the human brain is unengaged, the alpha power is high. When something catches its attention, consciously or unconsciously, its alpha power drops. Several other sensory stimuli like vision, hearing, and touch are known to cause abrupt drops in the amplitude of alpha waves in the first few seconds after the stimulus. And the experiment showed that in some participants, alpha power began to drop by baseline levels immediately after magnetic stimulation, decreasing by as much as 60% over several hundred milliseconds, then recovering to baseline a few seconds after the stimulus. It's a classic, well-studied brainwave response to a sensory input termed event-related desynchronization, or alpha ERD. The test further revealed that the brain appears to be actively processing magnetic information and rejecting signals that are not natural, as we said before. For example, when the vertical component of the magnetic field pointed steadily upward during the experiments, there were no corresponding changes in brain waves because the magnetic field normally points down in the northern hemisphere. It seems that the brain is ignoring signals that are obviously wrong, and this component of the study could be verified by replicating the experiment in the southern hemisphere. Alpha ERD is a strong neural signature of sensory detection and the resulting attention shift, and the fact that we see it in response to simple magnetic rotations like we experience when turning or shaking our head is powerful evidence for human magnetoreception. The large individual differences we found are also intriguing with regard to human evolution and influences modern life. As for the next step, we ought to try bringing this into conscious awareness. One of the challenges in early attempts to test humans' magnetoreception was the difficulty of making sure that those changes in the brain waves were indeed correlated to a magnetic field and not to some other confounding effect. For example, if the coils generated the magnetic field around the chamber created an audible hum, that might be enough to trigger a change in alpha power in participants. To address those issues, the chamber used in the study was not only pitch black and isolated, the copper wires for altering the magnetic field were wrapped and cemented in place in duplicate. Now, they said, our results rule out electrical induction and the quantum compass hypothesis for the magnetic sense. Kirschvik suggests that instead that the results implicate biological magnetite as a sensory agent for human magnetoreception. In 1962, Lowenstein, a Caltech professor from 1954 until his death in 1993, discovered that magnetite, a natural magnetic mineral, occurs in mollusk teeth, and since then biological magnetite has been found to exist in organisms from bacteria to humans and has been linked to geomagnetic sense in many of them. By demonstrating a robust methodology for testing humans for magnetoreception, scientists say they hope this study can act as a roadmap for other researchers who are interested in attempting to replicate and extend their research. Now, one thing, this is also from California Institute of Technology, Caltech, on Science Daily, but my question is that if the humans are not responsive to magnetic receptor magnetic changes from the South Pole if they live in the North Pole, in the Northern Hemisphere, if they do not feel changes as to what would be taking place in the Southern Hemisphere. What would happen if people traveled from the Northern Hemisphere to live in the Southern Hemisphere? Let's say if I live in the US and I go to live in Australia, how would my magnetoreceptors of my human brain react to the magnetism of the Southern Hemisphere? Would I be confused? Would I be sick? Would I have headaches? Would I have loss of hearing or differences in hearing and sight and taste? How would that affect me if I go to live in the Southern Hemisphere? That's a question that I kept on having as I was reading this. What do you think? Anyway, please let me know. But from what scientists find, yes, they do, humans do definitely, all humans, that is, do definitely sense magnetic field changes. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.